All right. Anyways, okay. So let me explain OpTic to you guys. Okay. At Iceland, we had more arguments at Iceland. Okay, no, we didn't. We had more arguments at Berlin. Champs was the big one. We had a lot of arguments there. But we had a lot of arguments at Champs and Copenhagen as well. Like it was bad. All right. And if there was a camera on us and OpTic posted footage of like what was happening in that prac room, you would have felt like you'd have been like, "Oh, this is unacceptable thing to say to a teammate." Which, by the way, you might be right, right? Like that is a completely fair thing to say from a fan perspective, just watching the game without knowing the intensity behind the game. But when the camera is in the room after you just lose a big game, shit sometimes just hits the fan. People are gonna say shit. People are gonna say shit, and I'm sure they like squash it later, or maybe like they apologize later and they call it. But you guys don't see that in the camera because it's not fucking videotaped after. All right. So just because you see intense moments on camera after a match loss, where like you can't construct a whole viewpoint on a player just based off of that because the context matters, and the context is that it is very high emotion. It was a highly emotional situation to be in. So it makes sense that it didn't surprise me at all when I watched the doc. Actually, it didn't surprise me at all the things that they were saying. I've seen much worse. I've seen like honestly that shit was nothing. And like you wouldn't believe some of the other stuff like at least in the time that I played that I've seen. All right? It's just not fucking you just don't have a camera in the room. We had a rule of not having a camera in the fucking room because we don't want that shit getting leaked. Because it's between the team, it stays between the team, period. Which was worse, CS or Valorant? Definitely Val. Val just got intense because think about it. When you're like, okay, when we were on OpTic, right? We were like obliterating our region for like a while in that time period. So when we would lose a match to someone after coming back, like when we won Iceland and we came back home, right? That next split, if we lost a match, it would be very intense. If we like lost, like afterwards, like what the fuck? Did we just really lose to these guys? Because in all our heads, right? You feel like you should be dominating everybody when you come back from a win. And then when you start losing and you get humbled, it's very hard to accept that. It's a very, very hard to accept that. Just is. Yeah, because of ego, high confidence, high intensity, how much the matches matter. It's like a big thing. So it's mainly you'll see it the most intense emotions from a team that's like just won and then starts losing. That's the worst part. Is like you are winning and then you immediately start losing right after. That's when it's like at its worst. That's when you're going to see the worst out of some players. You think that happened to Fnatic? I'm not going to presume to know what other teams are saying and doing. I'm just telling you from my experience what I've seen. And from my experience, this T1 shit, I'm not surprised at all. And it happens, I'm sure, to other teams as well. It's just not fucking, there's just no camera in the room recording it. And I swear to you, if OpTic ever recorded my teammates in a prac room and then posted it, I would leave that team the next day. I'd be fucking furious because of how intense those conversations are and how personal those conversations are. Ain't nobody wanting that to get out. Period. Like no, there were no physical altercations. There was never any physical altercations ever in any of my teams ever. No, 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 no. There were, like I said, none of my teams have ever had any altercations like physically. No one's ever like fought each other actually. No one's punched each other. No one's pushed each other. Nothing like that. It's always been verbal. But those verbal conversations that are had in the practice rooms after like post losses, we had a rule: no camera in there. If there's a camera in there, it's definitely not on. There should never be any footage of that. We made sure because shit just got real intense. But yeah, anyways, the point I was trying to make is the T1 stuff. You guys shouldn't just like. There's like I'm seeing like a lot of people attacking Buzz and like Autumn and shit, and like I understand from a viewer's perspective, like what the fuck? Why would you say that to a teammate? Right? Completely normal to like think that. So I understand it's a valid point. But please understand the context of losing a huge match, coming back to the prac room, having your emotions being very high, and then you say things you probably regret later on, you know? Because you just word it wrong or whatever. Because you're just like in the moment, you know? Just like angry, you can't really, you're not thinking straight. You're just kind of saying exactly what your emotions are telling you to say. Mid match is kind of weird. Okay, I agree with that. You should not be putting your teammate down mid match ever. Ever, ever, ever in any universe, you should not be making it so your teammate loses confidence in a match. I can agree with that. That is completely valid. No excuse for that. That is completely valid. But I'm talking about post match after you lose. The emotions can get high sometimes, and people are going to say shit they don't necessarily like mean or are saying it in a really bad way instead of saying it in a constructive way. So I would just say, like, go easy on them a little bit.
To VCT Pacific Stage 2, and we just saw a banger matchup just earlier, but now we're going to go in second series with two more Korean powerhouses.
Why are you defending them? I just explained to you, you fucking dork, why I am defending it. Because I've been in their position. And I have a very clear perspective on, like, what happens in these rooms. I just explained that. What about the compound effect of happening both in-game and outside of game? Like I said, I'm just going off what I saw, right? Like in the documentary. If this happens consistently, the players aren't apologizing to each other, there's no accountability being taken by everyone, and like a real effort to try to help the player get better, like if no one's doing that, then of course, like, it's bad. But we don't know that they're not making an effort later on that's not on video, you know, of them putting in the effort or not putting in the effort. We have no idea. I'm just saying from the perspective of a player that's been in their position, it is very easy to lose control and say some things very like bluntly and rudely to someone and then regret it later on if it's right after your match or whatever. If you lost and the emotions are high. I don't know. I think we need to have a one-on-one interview with Sylvan.
What we said in the first series of one team
and get to the bottom of this bitch.
Year, one team performing better in the middle of the
get to the bottom of this whole shit. Like I said, if the players aren't like
stage one, of course, falling to RRQ in that grand final.
Oh, sorry, players and coaches aren't doing anything to help the player get better outside of like what the cameras are showing, then that's a problem. If they do apologize, the team should record it. No? Yo, do you think they have a camera on them 24/7? Like when they're walking home, do you think there's a camera on them? When they go to their like specific apartments, there's no camera on. They're not gonna vlog everything. Like I've like texted my boys like, yo, I'm sorry how I acted or whatever. Like, what do you think? I'm gonna show that on a video camera and be like, look, just in case, there's receipts.